Hey, what's up guys? It's Nick here, aka Mr. Mental Muscle. I'm here at the Strong Performance Center, so I'm glad to be here in his lab doing a video. And we're going to talk about the practice effect. Now, in psychology, specifically statistical psychology, we want to be able to show results that matter. Now, since we're not talking about more statistical and more applied usage, if you're doing drills with clients such as athletes, rehab and recovery, military, whatever it may be, we want to apply the same concept, make sure our training and our drills make sense. Now, let's first talk about what is the practice effect and how does it impact you. Now, simply put, it's getting better at a task simply by doing it again. Now, that may seem pretty clear and cut on the surface, but a lot of times what you see in this industry, whether it be training with a hand-eye coordination tool, an app on your phone, or even more higher priced technological system, all these can be impacted by the practice effect. Because if you do the same drill over and over, it may not necessarily be you getting better from your mental and brain performance, but the fact that you just got better at said drill. Now, this can impact you because if you're going to give this results to a client or if it's yourself, you don't want to have inflated results, meaning just like monetary inflation, the price goes up with very little value. You don't want to have that with your training, because if you go out on that field or if it's your day-to-day job, the law enforcement, whatever it may be, you don't want to go out there with the wrong confidence, because these numbers are just that, numbers. You want to make sure those numbers have value and mean something in the applied real world. Now, that's why it matters as well. I kind of went into that by accident. Now, I'm big on mitigating the occurrence of the practice effect. Now, you can't completely get rid of it to an extent because it depends on how the technology is being utilized. So if it's being used, like say with a reactionary light system or even just a hand-eye coordination tool, just throw and catch, you're going to get to the point where the similarities of the drill are going to be repetitive, so you get better at using said technology. So you can't get rid of that, but that's why I use the word mitigate, because you can change how said technology or tool can be used so you don't have these practice effects. Now, see this guy, I'm calling him Jim. He says the intervention should differ from the baseline. This is the biggest way we can mitigate those risks of the practice effect, because every training session, every training program, I don't care if it's just mental, any type, should begin with a baseline assessment. And we'll talk about more about that in a different video, but for this, we want to get a baseline saying what are 2 or 3 tasks or drills that we can get right now so we can know 4 to 6 weeks down the road, or however long you want to measure, we've gotten better. Now, what I noticed is a lot of people do the same types of drill that they start with, so over time they get better at said drill. So if it's just throwing something, catching it in a certain way, you're going to get better at it for the sheer fact that your body and your brain has adapted. Now, how do we change this? So that's why I say the intervention. Now, the word intervention, you probably heard this with like drug recovery or something like that, but intervention just means what is the task that's going to come between the baselines and intervene. Now, what we want to do on the interventions is add different loads, different variations. And this is the beauty, because it doesn't have to be nothing outside of the box. A lot of times I say people get too crazy with the intervention that it's the point that it doesn't even similarly go to the same type of effects that you would want. So if it's a task that's more on hand-eye coordination, but you're doing so many variables like agility, speed, or conditioning, it becomes that type of drill, speed and agility drill, and not a mental or cognitive task. So you want to have an intervention that gradually progresses. We can talk about periodization, another topic we can go into in another video, but that just means be able to program in increments to make it increase at the right intensity level, duration, and variation, meaning how do we change it up? So I'll use an example. You see me do a lot of drills, say with the fit light system. Now the simplest thing you might see me do is like a light comes out, and they put their hand over it, react, it goes off, and it tells me how fast it reacted. So if I have a specific setup, we can say, okay, in 30 seconds, they got this many lights, this much reaction time, let's say 3.2 reaction time. Now to add an intervention, what I could do is make a light mean something. So I could say green means left hand, red means right hand. Simple as that. So it doesn't have to be anything over the top. So that's just an example. Now you can progress that by having shorter timeouts, meaning it only stays on for so long. So over 3 to 6 weeks or so, you can say after, do the same baseline you did at week 1, did they get better? So now we know they got better for the sake of the training, not because they got better at the task itself and they got the practice effect. So all in all, make sure, like I said, your drills need to make sense first and foremost. They need to train what they say they need to train. The baseline should start off with something that can be remeasured down the road, something that's standardized, has the same dimensions, same parameters. So after 3 to 6 weeks, you do an intervention that requires gradual progression, higher cognitive loads, higher durations and lower timeouts and more intensity, that way the task gets harder. Just like you would lift the weight, you wouldn't just do the bar every day. You would add 1 plate on, then 2 plates, and so forth to get strong enough to lift more. Same thing, the more inclined the person gets to the type of training, you have to add variables that make it more intense. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if this is on Instagram, keep liking and get your mind right.